Hi everybody, this is Lee at Fresh Astrology, and you're about to view your second quarter forecast for the year 2019. That means that I will be reviewing April, May, and June for each sign. Before we start though, if you do want to find me online for a reading or for a life coaching session, you can go to www.freshastrology.com. If you are interested in starting your own business and want support around that, you can find my other business, tribetripsandretreats.com, at www.tribetripsandretreats.com to find out more and join us there. All right, onward, here we go. Hi Taurus, this is Lee at Fresh Astrology, and we're looking at the second quarter of the year in 2019. That means we're looking at the months of April, May, and June. And we're going to focus on a couple of key areas. So there's some areas where you're outward focused, you're out in the world doing, you're feeling action oriented, and things are changing outwardly, right? That's an area of life we all have where we're doing our outward motion, our outward expression. So we're going to focus on that. We're also going to focus on the inward expression. What's going on inwardly? What do you have to do? What kind of internal jujitsu, martial arts stances do you have to do internally, mentally, emotionally to make all this stuff work for you? You know, because the astrology is meant to work for you if you learn things and you learn how to do things in new ways. That's when astrology works its best. Astrology is hardest, you know, living your astrology, living from day to day is hardest when you are unwilling to change, unwilling to learn. That's when life feels hard. That's when things happen that are especially hard and feel hard, and then we have a hard time coping because of the unwillingness to change, the unwillingness to learn. So that's why we cover that, because my whole goal being here on YouTube with this is to help people learn how to cope with what's happening. Because what's going to happen, in many cases it's going to happen, you know, there are things outside of our control. How do we cope? How do we make what's happening work best for us so we thrive and like our lives and feel more love and joy while we're living our lives? That's why I'm here. So it's not just about what's happening out in the outer world, what's happening to us. It's the actions we can take, the choices we can make while we're taking action, and then what kind of internal, like I said, jujitsu, martial arts stances do we do mentally, emotionally to make all of this work better for us. That's what we're going to focus on this month. So with that in mind, let's get going. It is a time of year when you're going to have your birthday, so happy birthday in advance. When I record this, it's not quite your birthday, but happy birthday to all you Tauruses. You have a special gift this year. You have Uranus in your sign, officially, firmly, not backing back out into Aries, but it's firmly planted as firmly planted as Uranus can be, and in the sign of Taurus, which means this is a big time of change for you. Change, as you know, is not your strong suit. It's not that you can't change or that you're bad at it. It just means, you know, some signs are all over the place with change. They're changing all the time. They're creating change. If change isn't happening, they're making it happen. That's not necessarily a Taurus. Taurus does like its comfort zones. Of course, you know, even if Taurus is your sun sign, you also have a moon sign and a rising sign that can make you very different and kind of an atypical Taurus. For example, if you're one part Aquarius and one part Taurus and then one part maybe like a mercurial sign like Gemini or Virgo, you're all over the place with change and in your thoughts. But the typical stance of a Taurus, just kind of pure Taurian energy, is to stabilize and stay still. Even the bull, though it can charge and can create movement, is a very solidly placed creature, metaphorically, and that's you. So to have Uranus in your sign is going to feel very different, and it's usually a once in a lifetime occurrence because it takes so long to move around the sun. It moves slowly, so if you living quite long, you could get it here again, but it's unusual and usually kind of a once in a lifetime event. Even if it was in your childhood here, you don't remember what it was like, most likely, if it was early in life, or maybe you remember a little bit, but it creates a desire on a very deep cellular level to change yourself and to change how you present to the world, to change your like if you've up until now been kind of passive, you're more likely to become more proactive. If you haven't shown your whole identity, you've been hiding some of yourself. And this doesn't have to be any big kind of hiding something big, but we're usually careful and guarded. Most people guard, parts of ourselves. We all do it. So you're going to want to be living more freely who you are and expressing more freely your story, any secrets that have been behind the scenes, like, I don't know, I mean, you could pick a secret. It could be anything, like struggling with alcoholism, struggling with depression, struggling with whatever, anything. And it might not be you, it might be stuff going on behind the scenes in your family. You might want to be more out there with your story and less guarded about your story, whatever your story is. And it's not going to be as dramatic for each Taurus out there. Some Taurus people don't have a lot of high drama going on behind the scenes, but some do. But whatever's going on in your mind, in your emotional world, privately, you're going to be more out there with the whole thing. You're not as guarded. The main thing is you're not as guarded. You're just kind of tired of keeping up the guard gates, because it requires energy to keep the guard gates functioning and closed. It requires less energy just to let them go, to not even have guard gates. And so you're just going to be ready energetically just to release all the effort it takes to cover up, to cloister, to be careful with what you say. You're done with that energetically. You're just done. And it's kind of a let the chips fall where they may. You're just going to be honest about things and open about things in a way you have not been as likely to be or do. So that's one of the characteristics that you'll be noticing increasingly. This desire just to drop the pretense, just to drop any usual filters. It doesn't mean that suddenly you'll go from being a polite person who's mindful of other people's feelings to just obnoxiously rude. It doesn't have to mean that. Although there is a tendency to be more forthright and outspoken, you will notice that tendency where maybe it hasn't been before. You're more likely to be outspoken. So we have fun. It's interesting when I talk about Uranus and Mars, which I'm going to talk about next. There are like alarms going off outside my window suddenly, and I think there's a fire engine coming. And that's very Mars and Uranus, and we're talking about Mars and Uranus. So it's funny how symbolism works in our lives. It's ever present, and it's something in my coaching world, we pay a lot of attention to symbolism. In the world of astrology, it's also very important to pay attention to symbolism. Even stuff that's happening currently is symbolic of the stuff I'm talking about. So I don't know if you can hear the sirens and the alarms going off, but I sure can, and it's just funny that it's while I'm talking about Uranus and I'm about to talk about Mars. So this Uranus, just to cap that off, it's just a general way of being that's going to become more normal for you. And Mars is currently in this quarter moving, so you start the quarter with Mars exactly 0 degrees Gemini in your second house of your daily work life, how you earn money, how you spend money. And this is also a place of values, your personal values, which are a part of the equation with becoming more connected to who you really are. Your values are implicated here. So there is some of that. You may have some anger around your values, or some determination, or determination around your values. Like you believe strongly, maybe you want to act from your values. Especially when it comes to work and earning and spending money, maybe you're more motivated to do something that's more motivational to you based on your values and who you are. So a lot of people may find that they're wanting to change the nature of their career, or the way they go at their careers, the way they go at earning money. So it may be that you would like to follow what you're more passionate about, what you care about, where your values are, and come from that place as you earn your money and go out into the world to promote yourself, however you do that. It depends on your profession. You know, if you're a bookkeeper somewhere, it may feel challenging to live your life's purpose and connect with your values, except for maybe the idea of being honest in bookkeeping or dealing with people in a humane way. You can do that no matter what kind of job you have. But I would think, especially if you're doing a job where you're not living your full self. A bookkeeper, like if I think of a Taurus, a bookkeeper, what I think is Taurus would be very good at bookkeeping as an earth sign, and somebody concerned with keeping the books and keeping money situations clean and strong. Taurus would be good at that, but the soul of a Taurus, which loves the arts, loves to enjoy the world and all the, all through all the 5+ senses. I think there are more than 5 senses. But your 5+ senses of enjoyment, that's where Taurus really lives, and that's the happy place for a Taurus, which you're just not going to get, if you spend 40+ hours doing bookkeeping, you're not going to get that. So the question is, how do you, in this new world, Uranian world that you find yourself, become more fully you? A lot of you might find that you're wanting to start a new way of earning money that's more you, that allows you to be more of a Taurus, which means enjoyment. Enjoying the fruits of your labor, enjoying the fruits of the earth's labor, i.e., plants and food and music and wine, or just clean water, or pretty views. Taurus likes to be surrounded by beauty and filled with beauty through the senses. And so I imagine that there's going to be a big push for you to find this through how you earn money more, increasingly, through this next 7 years. It doesn't mean like tomorrow you do. It doesn't mean even in this quarter you fully transition to that, but it means you're going to feel a kind of a fire in your belly to make that kind of change. And this will, through this quarter, also apply to where you live and how you live in your living space. So it could mean, simply transforming where you live, like staying where you are, but transforming the space, transforming the garden, something, pouring energy and planning to pour some energy into changing your living space so that it suits you, better suits you. And for many of you, that's going to include the concept of moving. So you may not move exactly, although some of you will by the end of June. Some of you will be moving, but some of you, it may not coincide exactly with those parameters in time, but you'll be preparing for that. You'll be preparing to move. And I do see another big theme financially. It's actually a good financial year for the Taurus. And some of the goodness will be like any money that comes in, you're going to want to spend it on travel or property. So a lot of Taurus people who do get money, they're going to want to spend it in a very certain way. You're going to want to spend on, like I said, travel, many of you, and you're going to want to spend on something to do with land and property. maybe both, a combination of both. So many of you will find your imaginations caught up in that and dreaming about travel, dreaming about where else you could live, or do you want a vacation home? Do you want to live in a different country? There's the international flavor with Jupiter in Sagittarius. There may be some daydreaming about something international or further away, or something that seems a little more adventurous. That's the flavor of how you're thinking about spending your money when it comes in. So a lot of activity around your daily doings and being kind of fired up to get some stuff done at work, bring in more money. Like if you have a job where the more effort you apply, the more money comes in, you're going to be, putting in more effort. Or if you just want to move on out of where you are, you're going to be putting effort into that. Or if you've just started a new job, effort into that. But there's a lot of effort applied to your daily work and to maybe learning a new skill. There may be some intense commuting and driving around over these 3 months, where you're driving a little bit more, driving to and fro a little bit more, picking up on a new skill, sharing a skill. So there's also this theme of teaching and learning. So it could be in different capacities. In some capacities, you're the learner, you're picking up some new skills. In some capacities, you may also at the same time be a teacher, where you're teaching something to others. So, and then there's this idea of using the phone, like certain gadgets, the phones, your computer, meeting with people, or commuting, so to speak, via technology. We can meet with people who are at a distance by using our phones and our computers. We get a lot accomplished and a lot of collecting in groups through the use of our tools, our electronic tools. So you may be toing and froing in that way, but a lot of activity, meeting with people either in person and driving around or online. What else is here? Ironically, even though I'm talking about putting effort into work, effort into learning, teaching, meeting with people, and this ongoing, very powerful change that's happening, where you're just letting down your guard, you're showing who you are, you're not caring as much about what people think. The key is in that last statement, not caring about what people think. Where you release some control in your life right now, which may feel harder for some than others, but you relax your grip on that steering wheel where we're always trying to manage what people think of us. We all do it to some degree, some more than others, but we're all doing it. Don't think that you're escaping this. I hear friends, family, work with clients who are like, I don't really care what people think of me. I absolutely know they care. They care about what someone thinks. They do care. They're just not as aware of it. And true, they may not care as much as someone else, but they still care. And so here's where there's some work for each Taurus, no matter where you are on the pecking order of caring, this much about what people care or this much, you still care somehow. And there's still stuff about yourself that you hide, that you're not fully vulnerable about sharing. You don't want people to see certain things about you. Everybody's got that. It's the rare bird who does not, and I doubt that the average people I'm talking to are that rare bird, although maybe you are one. But most of us, including you, have parts of our lives where we're just conditioned to hide. We're conditioned to and worry about people seeing certain cracks in the facade we always try to keep up. And there is that larger social self where we want to stand behind and hide behind a resume and our LinkedIn profile and the pictures that we carefully take and vet and alter to present to the world, and the part of us that puts on makeup and does our hair a certain way and dresses a certain way, walks and talks a certain way outside of our home. Excuse me. We all have this thing that we present to the world that while it may be an artistic expression of us in some cases, maybe the way we're putting ourselves together is more of a true expression because it's more artistically done, or it's a type of fitting in, the way we do our hair, the way we dress, the way we arrange our LinkedIn profile, for example, our Facebook page, the photos we choose to share. They have some degree of care around choosing what will look good to others. And this is an area where a Taurus can just, and probably will feel an inclination to just relax. Like, some of you just naturally will notice, like, wow, I cared a lot more about that than I realized. The light has gone on, and the light bulbs come on over my head, and I see how much I cared just even yesterday about what people thought about the way I looked. Oddly today, so I'm just kind of talking through like some stuff that may happen for some Tauruses. Oddly today, I realize I just don't care as much as I did yesterday. And I didn't even know yesterday that I cared as much as I did. So that'll be a type of realization some of you are having. Some of you will recognize how much you still do care and be alarmed and just develop this awareness around how tightly you try to hold control over your image and what people think. And that it's actually a big part of your lives, and you may even be kind of scared and feel trapped by the tendency that you've been in up until now through your life. You've been trapped in maybe wanting to please and look a certain way. And we don't always see that. Again, it's like a realization that a lot of you will be having, that you just suddenly don't care. That keeping certain things quiet or secret about your life or who you are for the sake of image just doesn't make sense anymore. It doesn't even compute. Whereas 2 years ago, it was just like a part of your routine to cover up stuff. Like if somebody in your, I'm just going to give examples, I'm not saying it's you, somebody in your world drinks too much. And it was just a normal course of your daily life to kind of sweep it under the carpet, cover the tracks of that person. Maybe it was you, but maybe it's easier to think of it in terms of someone else other than you. But we do get in these relationships with our family and friends where we sometimes become codependent and cover up. And it's just a normal thing. We kind of gloss over what somebody's doing and normalize something that's not really normal or good. And it's just a part of our life to gloss over things. And then now, by contrast, you'll feel pulled toward, and perhaps unexpectedly pulled toward, and not only unexpectedly, but suddenly, like overnight, you'll just be like, I'm done with that. The energy it takes, there'll be this recognition maybe that you do it, and it may not be something as dramatic as drinking, covering up for an addict behavior, but something else, maybe just putting up with and covering up that you hate the job that you work day in and day out, and putting on this big smile every day as though it's fine, you can power through, blah blah blah, because you just pretend like that's something you're supposed to do. And then suddenly overnight, often, and with this kind of lineup of stars and positioning of planets, you may just wake up or just have a moment in the middle of the day where you're like, I'm done. I can't continue this anymore. This is no longer authentic to me. I feel like I'm dimming my light. I feel like I'm hiding behind this thing. I feel like I'm covering up for, or suddenly realize I'm covering up for someone or something, and I'm just tired, I'm done. And you just stop. And then life starts to change dramatically after that, but it's whenever you take a step toward being more authentic, it's worth it. But it will change your life and change everything in your life, sometimes dramatically. So a lot of you will be experiencing that, but it's a positive. Like I said, whenever you take a step towards your authentic life, toward who you are authentically, and being authentic and open and transparent, it totally changes your life for the better. But it does change your life, which means you go through big changes, which means things don't stay the same, which means for a Taurus that, for a sign that doesn't like change, things change a lot. And so there's just adapting to and developing kind of a comfort level with that. But many of you will just find that you just suddenly want to, rather than keeping a tight grip on the way you think of yourself and the way others think of you, the way you think of your family, the way others think of your family, whatever it is, you just take your hands off the control because you're just done. And then change ensues and your life improves, but it is a lot of change and it does take courage. So I'm definitely validating it takes courage. It isn't always easy to stop an old habit and just pivot and turn and change, but it's going to be very worth it. And the focus right now for you, as I said, is more around something to do with how you earn money, applying yourself to your daily work, this idea of commuting, whether it's in person or online, learning, teaching, and then there's also this added element of changing where you live, something about changing where you live, or changing the quality of where you live. And that can include the people, who's living with you. Maybe you want to change that. I don't know. But those are the things, like the practical daily things going on. And then there's this undercurrent of complete personal change and dropping all the layers, dropping all the pretense. And then the emotional change of suddenly being totally fine with that. Whereas before, you were not. You lived some form of pretense, not because you're a bad person, it's because we all do it. And this is just a time with Uranus in your sign and the south node up at the top of your chart and the north node at the base, where you're just going to be dropping a lot of pretense really fast and unexpectedly, and life will change as a result. And it's good emotionally to just understand that that's going to happen, and it's good and it's okay. But there will be change. And change is not always, it's not always, a cakewalk. It sometimes takes some courage and some effort and some adaptability, and resiliency, but you got this. All right, take care.